Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to review some of the features of the S-64 plugin. The first one might be a little bit subtle. I don't know if it's obvious quite yet, but if you'll notice, the rotors are stopped. A little bit of an issue that has always kind of been an issue is even when the propellers or rotors are off, if the engines are off, they'll always kind of continuously spin very slowly. So the plugin here will actually fully stop them. Another thing, if we move down here to the collective, are the landing lights. There's a pulse mode, which we can see makes the landing lights pulse like that. The plugin is driving that feature. And then you can see, too, another sort of interesting thing is this little hat here on the collective. Each forward-facing pilot's collective has control over the landing light on its respective side of the helicopter. And you can use that hat switch to point the light more forward or more down to its limits. So that's happening there. The next thing, let's see, would be the nose wheel lock. There's a lever here that allows the nose wheel to be locked or unlocked. There's a freely castering nose wheel here that, in order to prevent it from wobbling and rotating or swiveling in flight, what you'll usually want to do is first make sure that it's straight and then pull this up and it will lock the wheel in place. So pretty simple, but it's a useful feature. The next thing is going to be related to the throttle control, or N1 levers as they tend to be called in the S-64 documentation. So I'm just going to move these quickly here, and that what actually happened there is the fuel is now available to the engine. So if the engines were running and we were to move it up, that would actually cut off the fuel and allow you to shut off that engine, as this little placard here sort of advertises. So the plugin makes that actually work. So if we start the engines, and as I understand it, in real life, what you'd want to do is have this in the shut-off position, engage the starters, and then at the right moment, move the lever to introduce the fuel. I think that's how it should work. It's a little bit hard because, of course, you can only really click one thing with the mouse here at a time. But if you link the starter button to a joystick or a keyboard key, then you could actually do it that way. You could have the starter engaged and be able to manipulate this lever here. So engines are on. Oops, the rotor brake is on. We'll release that. So these will start to spin a bit faster. Now these levers, the next cool thing that's a plug-in driven feature is that moving them forward to the full open position for flight will actually engage a governor, basically. Now it's in a mode where the engines will work to keep the rotor RPM in the green arc here. So there's no imaginary governor switch or anything that you have to deal with there. If these levers are in full open, then the governor function is basically active. This will work to maintain the rotor RPM. And it does a pretty decent job most of the time at doing that. So let's see. So the other thing that the plugin does of significance here is related to the automatic flight control system, or AFCS. And what I'll do is I'll quickly review these buttons here while we're sitting on the ground, and then demonstrate a little bit what that translates to in flight. So we have bar alt, or barometric altitude hold mode. yaw stability or hold mode, and then stick trim mode, which that one is related to the rear pilot's remote stick here. The rear pilot's remote stick is just electronically connected to the AFCS, so it's not mechanically linked to anything. In that way, it's kind of like an Airbus control stick. It just sends signals to the AFCS saying that, hey, this pilot wants to pitch a little bit, roll a little bit, or whatever the case may be. But it will only do that if one of these modes here are active. So normal mode and auxiliary mode are the two ways that this little remote cyclic stick can become active and actually do something. And if one of these are active and you're the pilot sitting up here, you'll get a little caution segment here that will let you know that the person back there has engaged their controls and they can actually make flight control inputs. So to really kind of see what the difference is between those two, we really kind of need to be flying. So if everything is set here, we'll turn off the rotor brake, or the parking brake rather. Power plant, the aux power plant is on, so we'll shut that down. Our caution panel is unlit, which is nice to see. So let's take off. Okay, up we go. Let's get a little higher. We'll actually turn this way too. Okay. So, first of all, let's just quickly engage. I'll put on bar alt and yaw mode, and you'll see now that I am in control of the cyclic here, but the AFCS is trying to maintain this altitude and this heading, and it will do a pretty good job at it. There are ways that you can overwhelm it, but if you coordinate your inputs and kind of work with the system, it will help you to hold a particular altitude and heading. It just makes things a little bit easier. You now don't really have to worry about manipulating the pedals or the collective. You just have to kind of work with the cyclic to stay oriented correctly or the way that you want. And then here you can see we still have yaw control. I'm making a request to the AFCS right now because the stick I'm using right now actually twists the way that the rear pilot's remote stick would twist. So I'm telling the AFCS to turn a little bit. I just stopped and now it will hold this heading. So that's how that works. You don't have to turn down to look at a knob to make that change. And the next thing would be, actually, let's first take off bar alt mode and activate this mode. So now normal mode is activated in the rear, and you can see when I make an adjustment and let go, the system will try to hold this attitude until I make another adjustment, and then it will try to hold that again. That's norm mode. Aux mode won't really be as helpful. Aux mode will just send direct signals saying, move the servos, move the servos. It's more of a direct as a little electronic remote stick can be. It sort of bypasses some of the stability features. So that's the difference there. So for now, we could call that a day as far as reviewing the plugins and some of the modes and features that they drive. So until next time, thanks for watching.